guys, welcome to Exploring Cinema. This is the second episode of my new show, which I have called Last Week in Cinema. Now, before I start, I do just want to say thank you so much for coming out each and every day to all of you, old and new. Just to, whether it's my film reviews or any other content that I make, just like this show. And for those of you who are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more reviews and content, and just to keep up with everything that's going on with Exploring Cinema. Alright, so as I stated before, this show is all about the news that broke in the previous week. And I do it like this because I always love talking about movie news with people. It's just that I don't normally get the chance in my everyday life, so I decided that I wanted to do it through this, and I had even started doing small editorials and small movie news segments. The issue is that with my day job, because obviously this isn't my primary job, I don't even get paid for this yet, they have me on a graveyard shift. I've been on the graveyard shift for the past 2.5 years, and it doesn't look like they're going to take me off of that anytime soon. But every time there was something new breaking in cinema news, I would be asleep pretty much all the time, and then whenever I would have time to actually make a video on the thing, something new would pop up, and then it wouldn't really be worth it to actually make the topic. Or I would just sleep through it, and then I'd have to go to work, and then I'd miss the entire I'd miss any chance to where it would get maximum viewage. So I decided to take that difficulty and turn it into a strength, and I came up with the idea of this episode or this show where I just talk about the previous week of movies, and I'll do this every following Monday. And what I do with each show, I'm going to start off with the previous week's box office report, where I'll just focus on the top 5 of the week, and then I'll get onto the news topics. Okay, so the first thing we get into is the weekend box office, and by the way, a lot of this I'm doing off my phone, so if I need to reference anything, I'll look on my laptop for my notes, because they're pretty extensive. I do my best to make sure that I'm completely prepared. But like I said, weekend box office is usually the first thing that pops up each week anyway, so I like to get that out of the way. And also keep in mind that the grossing, that I'm mainly focusing on the grossing for the weekend, and the weekend grossing is all US domestic numbers, but I will also give domestic and worldwide totals, but it depends on how many weeks the thing's been in theaters. Okay, so for the weekend of November 10th to the 12th, in 5th place we had the small horror film and, continuation of the Saw franchise, Jigsaw. The weekend saw it gross $3.4 million, bringing up its domestic total to $34.3 million, and it's had a worldwide total of $79 million. And for those of you who've seen my review of it, you know that I hated that movie, and I really don't think it deserved even $5 million, let alone $50 million. But it was made on a $10 million budget, so it's already made its money. There's going to be more. I have no doubt of it. Okay, in 4th place is A Bad Mom's Christmas. The weekend grossing was $11.5 million, bringing up its domestic total in its second week to $39.9 million, and the overall worldwide total is $46.5 million. Nothing really, let me see. Yeah, nothing really notable about Bad Mom's Christmas. I think it's close to making a profit, I think. I believe it was made for about $20 million, give or take, at the most. So actually, that's not too bad of a day. Okay, in 3rd place, and this was in its first week, Murder on the Orient Express. The weekend grossing for US was $28.2 million, and like I said, first week, so that is the full domestic total. But worldwide, in its first week, it made $85.4 million. And I think that's great. I love Kenneth Branagh. I loved what he did with the movie. I loved his performance. I had a couple of issues with some of the narrative points, But other than that, I'm okay. Hold on, I gotta get my water. I've realized that whenever I talk for a long period of time, I start getting a lot of phlegm. I have no idea why. Okay, and in second place was Daddy's Home. This was another one that was in its first week. The weekend grossing was $30 million, and the worldwide total was 30.4. So it only got about $400,000 overseas. And the interesting about this, thing about this, was that Daddy's Home opened up around a Star Wars film, so pretty much anybody who wasn't able to watch the movie, they started filing off to other movies that just so happened to be playing, and Daddy's Home, the original one, was one of the films that was playing, so that's why it was able to get a sequel, was because it made so much money so fast. But this is, so far, this is $8 million less than the opening of the original film. I just thought that was a pretty interesting tidbit. And in first place, we saw this coming. It was Thor Ragnarok. The weekend grossing was $56 million, bringing up its domestic total to $211.6 million, with a worldwide total of $650.1. And this film has finally surpassed the worldwide totals of both the original Thor as well as Thor: The Dark World. And I think that I don't know how the numbers are going to be for this weekend. Oh, hold on one second. What is that? Oh, just my automated bank thing. Sorry about that. I do believe that it will be the highest grossing comic book movie of this year. I don't think Justice League is going to get any close or anywhere close, but we'll talk about that next week most likely. Okay, so we just got through the weekend box office, and now onto the topics. Oh yeah, and just to let you guys know, in the description I will have each topic, and you know, if you guys aren't interested in certain topics and you just want to skip to some, I will actually have the timestamps next to each topic. Okay, so for our first topic, I will actually be making a callback to the last episode. I had talked about Ben Affleck's response to an interviewer on how many times Ben would be back to portray the Batman in the DCEU, with Ben basically saying, I don't know, I mean, we'll see, you know, we'll see. And not even a day after, we got even more news. In a profile in USA Today, it said this: the new Batman movie is being developed by Matt Reeves, the director of War for the Planet of the Apes, and what Ben Affleck says is that the film is something he's contemplating. And keep in mind, he was originally tapped to direct the movie. He also continues by saying, "You don't do it forever, so I want to find a graceful and cool way to segue out of it." Now here's how I feel about the entire thing. Ever since that THR article that was released before Comic-Con early this year, that stated that Ben Affleck was going to be leaving leaving the role of Batman, I've been saying that he's going to leave, and everybody online was saying that he's going to stay, he's going to be Batman forever, just because the day after the article released, Ben Affleck came out on the stage at Comic-Con screaming, cheering, yelling, and whatever, basically saying, yeah, I'm going to be Batman forever. And then the news came out about his interview last week, and people started doubting that he would actually stay, just like I had been doing for the longest time. I've been doubting it for the longest time. And this article in USA Today, or USA, not USAA, USA Today, is being blatant and saying that Ben Affleck is not going to be staying very long. I know that some people could say that he is just being stoic with the last sentence by saying, I'm not going to be Batman forever. There's going to be a point where I'm going to have to step down from the role and give it to somebody else. I've just got to prepare for that. And you could say that, but for me personally, I don't know. This entire situation doesn't feel right, especially because, look at it this way. He said that the standalone Batman film was something that he was contemplating, which is not a positive word in this setting. And also, when he said this, Justice League hadn't even come out yet. anywhere. Like, a couple of small press screenings, but it hadn't come out anywhere. And this report came out 3 days before the midnight premieres on Thursday. So it came out Monday, 4 days before the film officially opens. And seriously, if there's a slight possibility that Ben saying the things that he did made a fair amount of people decide to not go see Justice League in theaters after all. And hell, if I didn't want to review films for a living, if I didn't want to be a critic, as my dream job, I wouldn't have gone to see the movie at all. I mean, I was not impressed with any of the trailers, and I just had a really bad feeling about it. But anyway, if you want more on that, just, a random message. If you want more on that, just go and watch my review. It's up on the channel. Or, actually, after the video, you can look down in the description. I have the videos that I've done for this week at the top. But yeah, it just seems like Warner Brothers and Batman, or both, were planning to subtly announce that Ben was done. But if they were actually doing that, you don't do it before the film is out. The best time to do it is about 4 weeks after the release, because your average film earns the majority amount of what it's going to make in the first 4 weeks after release. But either way, I think we can all agree that there's a definite chance that we will soon see the end of Ben Affleck as the world's greatest detective. And actually a later topic that we will discuss, it's a little bit later in the video, will perhaps add even more credence to his rumored departure, which at this point doesn't feel like a rumor. Okay, on to the next subject. This is another callback to last week's episode. I had talked about a rumor that Gal Gadot would be leaving the role of Wonder Woman if Warner Brothers did not cut ties with Rat Pack Entertainment, with the whole Brett Ratner thing. Well, according to Deadline, the story was pretty much false. But that's not the topic. I just wanted to clarify that first. This topic is actually on the release date of Wonder Woman 2. The original release date was December 13th, 2019, or actually, yes it is. And this past September, Disney and Lucasfilm moved Star Wars Episode 9 from May of that year to December 20th to give the new director, J.J. Abrams, more time to take over from the former director, Colin Trevorrow. And with Star Wars coming up shortly after Wonder Woman 2, because it's just a week gap, I mean, that would really hurt it. I mean, look at earlier this year. I don't remember which movie came out first, but it was either Spider-Man Homecoming or War for the Planet of the Apes. They came in a week apart from each other, and I know it at least hurt the box office for War for the Planet of the Apes. I don't know how much it affected Spider-Man Homecoming, but it still affected both of them significantly. But with Star Wars coming shortly after Wonder Woman 2, the film was sure to not earn as much money as it would have before the move. And many film fans and film experts have speculated that it was only a matter of time before Warner Brothers actually announced a new release date. And it's good that they finally moved the film. They moved it 6 weeks earlier to November 1st. And honestly, that's great. As I've always said, a film makes about the average majority of the money that it's going to make in 4 weeks. And since it's 6 weeks apart between Wonder Woman 2 and Episode 9, that's actually great. This is a great announcement because no film studio wants to put a big budget film up against a Star Wars film, let alone an episodic. And honestly, I want this film to be successful. I think the main reason why the first film worked was because of Patty Jenkins' direction, and she is actually set to direct this one, this time getting paid a salary equal to any male director that is filming a movie of this caliber. Alright, so the next topic. Where's my water? Oh. Okay. So I'm gonna admit, I'm gonna be very embarrassed with this one. The next topic involves an upcoming Disney live-action remake. Now, Disney has been on a roll recently, especially with the box office successes of a couple of their live-action films, or live-action remakes, such as Jon Favreau's Jungle Book, as well as Bill Condon's Beauty and the Beast. But now it seems that one of their upcoming films has suffered a bit of a setback. The live-action iteration of the 1940 Pinocchio film has been in works for some time with Sam Mendes, the Oscar-winning director known for directing American Beauty and Skyfall, arguably one of the greatest James Bond movies of all time, was in talks to direct. But now it's been announced that Mendes has stepped away from the project, and there doesn't seem to be another director that they were also thinking of that could replace him. And apparently, I'm actually looking at this. Apparently, Mendes was also attached to remake James and the Giant Peach, only to exit earlier this year for Pinocchio. And there has been some discussion in the film fan community that Mendes left to direct Bond 25, but the report suggests that the exit from Pinocchio was not tied to it, although I haven't actually seen anything that suggests anything about why he exited, but that's beside the point. I mean, but luckily, if you're worried about the future of these remakes, don't worry. I mean, I was worried for a second too, but then I actually looked up, here's some of the ones that we have to look forward to just in the next couple of years. You got Tim Burton's Dumbo, Guy Ritchie's Aladdin, Jon Favreau's The Lion King, Mark Forrester's Christopher Robin, all of which are set to release in 2019. I don't remember if there's anything coming out next year, live-action Disney. Yeah, I really can't think of any, but those were the ones that I could actually find and think of. Also, I do have to say something about this. I absolutely love Disney. I've said it before that I live and breathe Star Wars. Well, whenever I'm not living and breathing Star Wars, it's instead replaced by Disney. And despite being a huge Disney nerd, I must confess, I actually don't recall ever hearing anything about a Pinocchio remake announcement. Hell, I didn't even know that there was one for James and the Giant Peach either. God, and I call myself a Disney nerd. Whatever. And actually, speaking of the Bond franchise, we move on to our next topic, which is on that very subject. So, after Spectre came out, the U.S. domestic distribution rights expired for Sony Pictures, and it has led to a bit of a bidding war between a few of the studios for who gets those distribution rights. Currently, the bidding war includes Sony, Universal, Warner Brothers, as well as Annapurna Pictures, a smaller company that used to focus solely on production, but has recently begun distribution as well, namely for a recent film, Detroit, which I still need to see. So far, the reports have hinted that Annapurna, I don't know how to pronounce it. There are reports that that studio is the pick, and that the deal between them and the rights holder, MGM, will be finalized within the week. But if it was meeting last week, I hadn't seen any report. Maybe it'll happen this week. I don't know. But that's only for the domestic distribution. They still want a company to handle the worldwide distribution because that's where the vast majority of the film's money is going to come from. And, of course, Universal, Sony, and Warner Brothers are vying for those rights. I don't have too much an opinion on the subject, but the way that I see it, things are starting to fall in place for the 25th Bond film. And, I mean, we are definitely getting Daniel Craig back, and the frontrunners for the directing chair for now are Yang Demange, or Demange? I don't know how to pronounce his name. Denis Villeneuve, and David Mackenzie. Also, I do think that I heard a long while ago that Christopher Nolan would love to direct a Bond film, but I haven't seen his name in any of the reports. Personally, I'm not picky about the director, so, you know, if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be for Nolan. But with the other ones, I'm really not picky. I love some of the previous works of Mackenzie. I love pretty much all of Denis Villeneuve's work. Although, I'm not too familiar with Demange. I'd have to look him up a little bit later. Okay, first, on to the next topic. For those of you guys who have already seen my Justice League review, you know that that I have some pretty big opinions about the whole Rotten Tomato thing, and I did hint it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read off everything that I wrote, because I had a feeling that the story was going to kind of alter a bit throughout the week, so I'm actually going to read exactly what I wrote, because I put this in paragraph form. Okay, starting right here. I will go ahead and say, before I start on the topic, that I love Rotten Tomatoes. I love its basic formula for how films are judged, and every once in a while I'll refer to it when talking about a specific movie. Now, the review aggregator is known for starting the tomato meter immediately when reviews start pouring in, and I would have mentioned this in last week's video, but I didn't think anything of it. Rotten Tomatoes decided not to release the score for A Bad Mom's Christmas right when the reviews began coming in. Instead, they decided that they would release the score on their new Facebook show called See It / Skip It. That's a fucking stupid name. And I guess I didn't think anything of it because the film isn't exactly something that your average moviegoer has in their top 10 most anticipated of 2017 list, let alone top 5. And now that we get onto the actual topic, Rotten Tomatoes had announced that they would be doing the same thing with the score for Justice League, and the score would be announced on Thursday at 12:01 a.m. on their show, one full day before the film's release, when the review embargo ended a full day before. By delaying the score review, it won't be on their main website until just a few hours before the first showing of Justice League. And then now I get into my view on the situation. Here's what I wrote. I have lost a great amount of respect for Rotten Tomatoes as a service. This news is fucking bullshit. You're holding back showing the critic score for Justice League, which is among the most anticipated films of the year, and is some people's most anticipated film. It wasn't in my top 10, but I was still looking forward to it. And now, here's a couple of reasons why I actually think that this decision by Rotten Tomatoes is complete and utter bullshit. This is basic manipulation, where they are trying to coerce those people that follow Rotten Tomatoes and believe in the formula to watch a pointless show after they spent years and years trying to make their service integral to the film community. Being impartial and balanced when it comes to the quality of a movie, only giving the percentage of how many critics, again, how many critics, people who study film for a living and who criticize films for a living, where they would recommend you see the movie because they believe you will enjoy it. And that's really what the score is, a percentage. And many people rely on Rotten Tomatoes to let them know, in order to go, in order to see a movie that releases, because movie tickets are expensive, people want to know beforehand. Most people can't afford to go to a movie every single weekend. Hell, before I started doing this, I was one of the people who was looking to Rotten Tomatoes, who was seeing if a movie was good, because I didn't want to waste my money because I wasn't making that much money. And hell, I'm still not making that much money. It's just that the Movie Pass really helps out with all that. But anyway, as I keep going, now I don't do that anymore because I don't want another critic's views to shape my own views. But I was one of these people once upon a time, and because of those times, I hold Rotten Tomatoes in a very special place in my heart. But whatever, I'm being naturally over sentimental. But what they are doing is making me feel like a stupid fucking idiot for putting my trust in them, because the trust and reliance that they have gained from myself and other film fans, as well as the casual movie-going audience, is being used to manipulate us and basically fuck us in the ass. They are taking one of the most anticipated films of the year and holding the Tomatometer score hostage, dangling the damn thing in front of us like we're fucking James Woods and Family Guy, and they got a piece of candy in between their fingers. And Rotten Tomatoes is using this candy to coerce us into watching their stupid fucking show. Fucking coercion. And the other reason why I am getting so riled up about it, just talking about it, and why I got so riled up when I wrote the script and everything, and I hate thinking about this, but, so you guys remember when there was all that media backlash, and actually, I got this in the notes, of how Rotten Tomatoes was destroying the film industry by convincing people not to see certain movies like Baywatch. And then there were even certain people who were saying that Rotten Tomatoes was biased against DCEU films, since none of those films had a fresh rating. And this was before Wonder Woman, but even then people still think that Rotten Tomatoes is biased, even after that movie, but you know, whatever. I'm actually thinking it's possible that... a lot of people actually came out and said this in the news media, that they actually do believe this, but ever since the announcement, I've actually wanted to talk about it. I actually did think about making a new video, like a small one about this, but I ended up not doing that. I actually wanted to hold it for this. But I'm actually thinking that it's possible that Warner Brothers is worried, or was worried, about the tomato score meter. And it is possible that they actually had Rotten Tomatoes hold the score so that they wouldn't have to worry about the initial box office numbers. And, okay, if there are some people out there who are thinking, oh, please, don't be ridiculous, you're being unrealistically paranoid, just like everybody else in the media, look up who owns Rotten Tomatoes. Warner Brothers is one of the owners. So it is possible that they were trying to hide the score. But hey, I mean, we all could be wrong. Everybody in the news media could be wrong. But honestly, it's way too odd to be a coincidence or to just be something that just happened. This is way too fishy. And, you know, maybe we are being paranoid, but the entire time, ever since this happened, my gut has been telling me something is going on with Warner Brothers, Rotten Tomatoes, and then the Justice League score. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, now on to the next topic, because I honestly don't want to focus too much on Justice League. Yeah. Okay, so according to the Wall Street Journal, Nintendo is actually close to making a deal with Illumination Entertainment to make an animated Super Mario feature-length movie. And even THR is reporting on this as well, so it does actually seem to be real. And there's good news and bad news in this report. Let's go on with the good news. The good news is we're getting an animated movie about Super Mario Brothers, and not just some live-action bomb bullshit thing like they did in 1993. But the bad news is that it's going to be developed by Illumination. Now, actually today I came out with a review of their film Sing, and if you've seen it, you know, if you've seen that review, you know I pretty much hate that fucking film. But I didn't mention it in the video, or I didn't mention in the video that I have never liked any of their films. The only one that I borderline tolerate is the first Despicable Me. There's not much substance to their films, they're quite cookie cutter, and they're all made on a low budget, so no matter what, because families will always go to see the newest animated film, despite the animation being mediocre compared to Pixar and sometimes DreamWorks, Illumination can always earn a shit ton of money off of basically nothing. And looking back at the filmography, I actually, you know, before I actually put all these show notes together, I actually feel like we're going to get a Mario movie that's just filled with cliche and easy jokes that any kid would laugh at regardless of if it's funny. Lowbrow humor, things like having to do with farting or throwing up, anything to gross you out, and just mediocre cartoon violence. I mean, yeah, sure, it's Mario, you're supposed to get it, but I mean, the difference is that they're going to make it mediocre. and just like the rest of their films, and also the normal animation style of Illumination, this could actually make it look like a mediocre film, and I personally will not be looking forward to the movie until I see a trailer. But until then, I will quell my thirst for Mario by either playing, either Super Mario Galaxy or Super Mario Odyssey. Okay, so on to the next topic. I'm gonna have to take a break in between each one. And actually, hold on one second. I want to check and see how long this has been going. Oh, 30 minutes. That's actually not bad. Okay. So one of my favorite directors is Quentin Tarantino. And he used to call the Weinstein Company home. And, you know, we all know about this. With the scandal going on with Harvey Weinstein, Tarantino decided to leave the company behind and has been pitching his new film centered around Charles Manson, who died earlier this morning, or maybe it was earlier last night, but either way, that fucker's dead, and I'm happy. That bastard did not deserve to live in prison the entire time. He should have been fucking executed. But anyway, he's been pitching the new film to a few studios for the past couple of weeks, and now it seems that we actually got an update on the studios that were running, as well as a big-name actor who is currently in talks with Tarantino to be in his 9th film. So originally there were, let me see, there were 3 film studios left vying for Tarantino. You had Warner Brothers, Sony, and Paramount. And they were all basically willing to give him whatever he wants, and this was actually what he wanted. He asked for some pretty big demands, including a production budget near $100 million, final cut on the film, and first dollar gross, meaning that he gets a cut of the studio's revenue before taxes. Those demands actually made a lot of the other film studios pull out from the running, leaving just those 3 to duke it out in like a glorious gladiatorial match that lasted like a week or 2. But it seems for the bidding war, a victor has emerged in Sony Pictures. Sony Pictures will be the main distributor for Tarantino's upcoming film, and who knows, maybe even his 10th, because we know that Tarantino wants to retire after his 10th film, so we'll see how that goes. As for the casting news, we've already had some ideas of who he wants in the film. He's had talks with Margot Robbie, Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, and now we can add Tom Cruise to the list of names. And for whatever role it is, it's unknown at the time, though we do know that, as I said, the film is based around a few of the Manson family murders, but hopefully we'll actually be able to find out more about the casting soon. Okay, this next one actually, this was another Disney thing that flew over my head. It just flew under my radar, just like Pinocchio and James and the Giant Peach did. And it's a new retelling, and it has a new director. Where's the description that I had? Oh, I took this from a website because I didn't know how to describe it, because literally everybody else wasn't giving any kind of description. I don't remember what the website was. But here's what it said. The film is the story of what is considered the most boring and uninteresting character in the Disney princess fairy tale films because of his lack of focus and character, Prince Charming. And the lucky director who will bring the vision to the silver screen is Stephen Chbosky, the man who not only wrote the beloved young adult novel Perks of Being a Wallflower, Perks of Being a Wallflower, I cannot speak, but also directed the film adaptation. He's been keeping himself busy the past few years with filmmaking. He's even done a few writing credits on films like this year's live-action retelling of Beauty and the Beast. And actually, he came out with a movie this past weekend called Wonder. It's based off of a young adult novel about a kid with physical deformities who goes to middle school for the first time, and it's basically, you know, seeing, you know, how everything goes. I will actually be seeing that movie later tonight with my fiancée Mallory, and hopefully I'll be able to get a review out soon with that. Shit, where was I? Oh yeah, actually, speaking of Mallory, I was introduced to The Perks of Being a Wallflower movie by my fiance, and I really loved that movie. It was a really fun time, and though I haven't seen Wonder yet, I'm really looking forward to it. Because it's Steven Chbosky, I'm actually looking forward to this, because I actually do agree, I hate the Prince Charming character. Just look at, let me think of a good movie. Not Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty, he at least did shit. Okay, Prince Charming from Snow White and Cinderella, the original animated ones, those, no. No, absolutely fucking not. Okay, so on to the next topic. This one has to do with James Franco. So, after The Disaster Artist, which if you guys don't know, it's like a biodrama / comedy about one of the worst movies ever made, and James Franco is not only starring in it, but he's directing The Disaster Artist. And it looks pretty award-worthy. A lot of people were asking, what could be next for James Franco? Well, it would actually seem that Franco is currently in talks to play in the X-Men, or in the Marvel X-Men universe, as the mutant Jamie Madrox, aka Multiple Man. His superpower is that he can make multiple versions of himself, and it's been reported that Multiple Man would have his own standalone film. Well, first hearing this, I didn't think that there was enough of the character to base an entire film around, so I did a little bit of research into the character, and it actually may not be a bad idea. I mean, 20th Century Fox has been killing it recently by taking chances with different properties in trying to make something new out of them. I mean, we got Logan, which feels like a neo-western noir film, Deadpool, which is a raunchy comedy, and then we have the New Mutants film coming out, which seems to be delving into horror territory. And while I did not like the trailer for New Mutants, mainly because the only reason you know that they're mutants is because somebody in a voiceover says the word mutant, which is kind of stupid for me. I do respect Fox for actually trying something new. And looking at the idea of Multiple Man, they could actually have a pretty dramatic look into Fractured Identity, so that actually could be kind of cool. But like I said, he's only in talks right now, so we don't know how this is actually going to end up. We don't know if he's going to get it or if somebody else is going to. Okay, so earlier I mentioned the whole Batman thing with Ben Affleck. Here's the extra thing that'll actually maybe make you people who are still doubting believe. And for right now, this is somewhat of a rumor, but somewhat also confirmed. It's a little bit confusing. Okay, so I had been mentioning for the longest time that Ben Affleck would be leaving as Batman, that it was blatantly obvious, though I thought that he would at least stick around for at least one more film, that being the Matt Reeves standalone Batman film. But for those of you who have seen my Justice League review, you know that I'm pretty sure that Justice League is the last time we're ever going to see Ben Affleck as Batman. But this bit of news came on basically the same day as the early so-called midnight premieres of Justice League, and it's actually a lot more evidence that, ow, shit, my leg popped, that Ben Affleck is done. And the evidence is that Matt Reeves has actually been trying to cast, excuse me, a new actor to play the Caped Crusader. And while not all of the names of the actors who have gone in to audition the roles, we do have one credible name, Jake Gyllenhaal. And now, that was actually a name that I wasn't expecting to hear, and actually when my fiance saw the news, she did this thing that she loves doing whenever they announce something. She's just like, she said something along the lines of, there's news for casting for the new Batman, guess who it is? You know, give me your 3 top picks, and I want to see if you can pick them. And then, like, the first 2 names, I was actually serious. One of them is one that we've heard before, and the first one was Armie Hammer, that's what I said. And then I also said John Hamm, who a lot of people were introduced to in Baby Driver as, I think his name was Buddy? Yeah, Buddy. but I knew him a little bit before because Mallory had introduced me to the A&E show Mad Men. Was it A&E? No, AMC. I'm sorry. It's the same channel as Walking Dead and Breaking Bad. But I said Armie Hammer and John Hamm, and she said no. And then she just kept pressuring me for the third name, and I really didn't know. So I just randomly shouted out Dwayne The Rock Johnson, which made her laugh. And I did it because it's like, he's in fucking everything these days. I mean, why not? He could do it, maybe. I don't know. But then when she said Jake Gyllenhaal, I immediately fell on the floor with my face buried in the carpet, and I was just screaming at the top of my lungs like a ridiculous fanboy, just straight into the floor. And then when I sat back up and collected my thoughts, I thought to myself, I never would have thought of Jake Gyllenhaal. That's kind of a strange one. But at the same time, I can think of nothing that would suggest that he would be a less than great Batman. No, apparently a lot of people on social media have said, no, he'd be a great Joker because of Nightcrawler. And I really think that's stupid, because when you're doing something like that, when you're saying that a person would be great in one role because they played a similar role, that's typecasting. You're basically typecasting them, and this is a guy that doesn't deserve to be typecast. I mean, you can argue that he's one of the top 10 best actors working today, and hell, I would even put him in my top 10. I don't know where, because I suck at top 10 lists. But either way, whatever happens or not, I still think that Jake Gyllenhaal could actually be a great Batman. I mean, we will see if he actually gets chosen, and if he gets chosen, we will need to wait until the standalone Batman film to see just how good he is. Okay, so for the last topic of the day, and this is kind of a callback to last week, to some of the Disney stuff, particularly them wanting to buy assets from 21st Century Fox. You guys remember that, right? I'm sure you do. Well, apparently they weren't the only company that was actually interested in buying assets. Recently, there have been reports that Comcast, who is the owner of NBC as well as Universal Studios, may have been interested as well. And it would seem that they were asking, actually, yeah, for the exact same assets as Disney was, which would leave Fox with their broadcast network, Fox News, and Fox Sports. For me, I don't see any bit of upside whatsoever. And I actually did a horrible job of saying that in the last story, but I will admit with Disney there would at least have been a little bit of an upside. Very minor, but there still would have been. And here's the downside. It's that if Comcast ends up purchasing all of those assets, there's no realistic possibility for crossovers of anything, and also it would reduce the amount of big name studios down by one. And of course the biggest loser would be the actual consumers, which is us, which is just, I mean, it's obvious what consumer means. That's self-explanatory. I'm sorry, I'm really tired. I had just gotten off of work a couple hours ago, and I just wanted to do this because, you know, I have fun with it, but at the same time it's like, you know, I want to get this out of the way so I can sleep and not have to worry about everything. But as consumers, it gives us less options, which is actually, like I said, something that I didn't mention when I was talking about the whole Disney thing. But it also would have been done that with Disney too, but like I said, one upside, there was a little bit of a possibility for crossover. It just I didn't think about it at the time, which was stupid on my part. Alright guys, so that'll do it for me today. I hope that you enjoyed hearing about everything. I know I probably sound a bit tired and strained, but I really do hope that you did enjoy listening to me ramble about all this shit. Oh, I love water. Anyway, tune in next week the same time for another episode of Last Week in Cinema. Thank you very much for watching, and farewell until the next video. Bye, guys.